welcome to Some Kind of Podcast. This is a podcast where we entertain you by talking about what entertains us. My name is Tim, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Christian.
Hello.
And Cody.
Hey.
Hey. So this is obviously our first episode, and this week we're going to kind of talk about ourselves, so to speak, and then get into some of gaming aspects. It's going to be kind of like a two-parter. We're going to talk about gaming this week, and then TVs and movies and whatnot the following week. So we're going to get into some gaming history, and then I think Cody is going to talk to us a little bit about Cyberpunk 2077, since out of the three of us, I think he's the only one that has a platinum trophy. You have a platinum trophy, right, Cody?
No, I haven't platinumed. I played it. I haven't platinumed it.
Oh, well, I thought you platinumed it. Oh, well. Anyway, regardless of that, we're going to get into a little bit of a discussion about Cyberpunk and other games potentially of that kind of ilk. But kind of going over to like what we're all about here. Christian, you kind of want to break that down for us?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, we're on Some Kind of Podcast right now, but as a brand and as our entire entity, Some Kind of Entertainment is our kind of global logo for the company. And Some Kind of Podcast is just our first experience creating some content underneath that brand, just talking about everything pop culture. Eventually, we hope to start doing some regular streaming content on Twitch. And then eventually, if this takes off enough, we'd like to do a more specialized podcast on just gaming itself. So you can look for that down the road. I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. So cool. I guess moving on from that, we're going to talk about personal game. Let's talk about personal gaming history. Get people to know who we kind of are in that regard, and what things we might be kind of talking about. So I'm going to kind of just put up some open-aired questions here for you guys. What's your earliest memory of gaming, and what are some of your favorites, like in terms of like system or game series or kind of genre that you like to play? And if you had to choose between a platform that you currently like and playing the most, what would that be? So we'll start with you, Christian.
Yeah, sure. So for earliest memory of gaming, that would be either a cross between the original NES console at my grandparents' house in Florida, or it would be stealing my sister's Game Boy Color from under her bed when I was young and didn't even have a console of my own yet. So yeah, my first game that I really kind of got addicted to on my own was Pokemon Red on the Game Boy Color. And of course, I didn't have my own, so I would go and sneak into my sister's room when she wasn't around, steal her Game Boy Color from underneath her bed, play it for a while, and when I heard her coming up the stairs, I would sneakily put it back underneath and run away.
Did you?
So that's my earliest memory. Huh?
Did you have to like replace a lot of batteries on that?
No, because I was in luck because she was very protective of her own stuff, but she never actually played it. So
interesting. So she just had a Game Boy.
Yeah, I don't even remember who gave it to her. Probably my parents, but she never really got in love with playing too many games as a kid. But she was still in the oldest sister mindset of still didn't want me to have her stuff. So
was it a color or sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cody.
No, I was just saying that's great.
No.
Yeah, it was Game Boy Color. It was actually a see-through one, so you could see like all the inside parts of the Game Boy Color.
Was it?
That's the really cool one.
The purple one.
Yeah, the purple, like light clear purple one.
Anyway.
And then whenever we'd go visit my grandparents in Florida, we were at the Village's retirement community down there. They had an NES system that was kind of put away, and whenever we went down there, Duck Hunt was like the game of choice whenever we went to visit my grandparents.
Why? I don't mean to interrupt you, but why is everybody hiding games from you?
I don't know. I feel like as a kid, my family wanted to make sure that we weren't playing too much of it.
That worked
which is
out.
probably why I got it. Yeah, I was gonna say probably why I got so obsessed with gaming as an adult, just because I was like, haha, now I'm in control. I'll play it all the time.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So.
So what are some of your favorites there, man?
So favorite system of all time. God, if I had to pick, might be as a kid at least the DS. That was kind of what I played the most. I didn't really start shifting into playing something either a home console on the TV or gaming on the computer until kind of an adult. So that would probably be my favorite console. Favorite game or series of all time. Game, well, because of the history I've got with it, it's probably got to be Pokemon for a series. However, game just in and of itself would have to be the Insomniac's most recent remake of Ratchet and Clank. That was also one of my childhood favorite games.
So let me ask you a question. Real, just kind of just break the flow here.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? There's a right answer. I want you to know there's a right answer. What's your favorite Pokemon game? There's a right answer.
So
There's
first one was Pokemon Red, but my favorite has got to be Silver.
Yes, that's the right answer. Congrats. You win. I don't know
love
what you win,
Lugia.
but you win. You win.
Yeah, yep. The Lugia, out of all the legendary birds, is of course my favorite. And yeah, so Silver was probably the most enjoyable time I've ever had playing a Pokemon game. It's probably in my opinion, the peak of what Pokemon should become.
Okay. And then what you playing currently now? What are your systems that you're on?
So current system of choice, I was one of the lucky ones, thanks to Cody, to get a PlayStation 5. So that is my current platform of choice. I don't really do too much PC gaming unless it's, just one of those oddball games that just doesn't come to consoles. So yeah, PlayStation 5. I was PlayStation 4 before that. I was ashamed to say that before that, I kind of had a few years of Xbox, but I corrected my ways. I came back to PlayStation, and yeah, so I've been back on the correct path for a few years now. So
I'm glad you had your come to Jesus moment and decided to walk the path of the righteous.
Mm-hmm.
Not to alienate anybody that might like the Xbox. I don't know.
Hey man, I had a 360.
I have an Xbox One. I'll get into it when I talk about my thing, but I have an Xbox One. Anyway, Christian, do you have anything you want to add to that, man? About any personal kind of stories that come to mind that you want to share about your gaming experiences?
No. I will just say as a disclaimer, good luck to all of you still trying to track down a next generation console. It kind of sucks with COVID and everything going on, and I'm sure there'll be a new second kind of wave of consoles coming out at some point in this next year.
I think we're on like wave 6 already.
Well, so I mean, the first big one was like an actual like wave of consoles, and then I feel like every single time one has left the conveyor belt, they're like, "Hey, let's go ahead and send it out." Like it's not like an official second wave. Yeah. It's like 1, 2, whatever website goes live. And then it goes away in like 2 seconds.
I feel that's what it is. Like Target's like, we have them, and we don't.
Yep.
It's like that South Park thing, like, and it's gone. Anyway.
For sure.
Moving on, Cody. How about you, man? What you got going on in your gaming history?
Well, I forget that Christian's like 10 years younger than us, and I was like,
way to call him out.
I'm a little baby.
I was like, hang on, the DS?
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I literally had the same moment. I was like, wait a minute, you were just talking about a Game Boy Color,
right?
What are you talking about DS for?
Oh no. So my earliest memory of gaming is Game Boy, not Game Boy Color, Game Boy. It was probably Tetris. So my mom had like the big fat boy gray Game Boy. And that's how I played Tetris. And then because of her job at the time, they got a lot of lost and found. And after like 2 months, it was like, well, they're not coming back for it. So that's how I got a Game Boy Pocket and my first Game Boy Color as a kid. And until I was about 6 years old, in 96 when Pokemon came out.
Happy 25th anniversary to Pokemon, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding.
25 years this year.
Oh God, that makes me feel old. Anyway, yeah, my sister was also born that year. And so before my mom left that job, I ended up getting Pokemon Red, it was Pokemon, it was either Red or Blue. And so that was the first, I don't know, game that I played. I mean, not that Tetris isn't a game, but you know what I mean, like a game with a story. Um, and then from then it was. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, as a quick sequitur there, like that old school Game Boy, I had one too when I was a kid, and that
swear I still
bad
have
boy took like 8 AA batteries.
No,
to
legitimately,
charge that thing.
it was like that thing weighed like 5 pounds.
It was a brick. Like there is a reason. Like it was
Yeah.
just like this plasticky gray, just
Green
brick.
screen.
Yeah, green screen. It had like a
Brick.
green screen with like black background, and that was it. It was
Yeah.
like playing Snake on a Nokia.
Yeah.
But that's all it was.
Yeah, no, that's literally all it was. So anyway, from then it was I didn't own a gaming console until PlayStation 1 outside of like Game Boys. I never had an NES or a 64. But my friend that lived down the street did, which is how I played games like Super Mario and Super Mario Brothers 3, not 2, 3. And like
You mean the best one?
yeah. And then like the Legend of Zelda games and Ocarina of Time on the 64 and stuff like that. So that's probably my earliest memories is honestly playing other people's consoles and the
Nothing
Game
wrong
Boy.
with that. I mean, everybody gets introduced somehow. I mean, I'll talk about it when I talk about my thing, but I'm not that far off from you. So talk about some of your favorites, man.
Well, my favorite series, I have to give it to Final Fantasy.
Ooh.
It's between Final Fantasy and The Legend of Zelda, but I have to give it to Final Fantasy because my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VII.
Wow. Shocker. No,
I
I was
know.
kidding.
I know. The only person that likes that game.
I don't know anybody else that I know of that's like
Nobody's
Final
even
Fantasy
heard
7.
of it.
What, 7? When did that come out?
And honestly, I have to give it to the remake as my favorite game of all time. Not that it takes anything away from the original, but like I love what they did with the remake, and hopefully what they keep doing. What was the other question? Favorite system?
A favorite system or that you played, and like what kind of genre are you into? I think with the questions that I prosed.
I think I have to give it to the GameCube. Honestly, it to this day had some of my favorite games on it. I mean, it had the Harry Potter Quidditch game, which
I've never played that, and you've told me so many times to play it.
it is by
I'm
far
pretty sure.
the most entertaining, like, I don't know, sports game that I've ever played.
I'm like fairly certain I own it.
I think everybody did, but like almost nobody played it.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure it's sitting on my entertainment center. I almost can picture exactly where it is right now, and I've never touched it.
It's such a good game.
Okay.
And then of course Smash Brothers Melee. Not that I don't like Ultimate, but I think Melee was my favorite. But in terms of genre, it's I got to give it to RPGs in general, I think. I mean, there's so many different facets of RPGs, but just the immersion you get from a good RPG, whether it's a first-person shooter or a top-down turn-based game or something like that. Like I just
You consider first-person shooters RPGs?
Yeah, I mean, I consider Cyberpunk to be an RPG. I consider even Borderlands to be an RPG.
Well, I mean, that's just interesting. I considered first-person shooters their own kind of category. What do you think, Christian? I don't mean to interrupt you, Cody.
No,
I'm just
you're good.
curious what y'all thinking?
Yeah, no, I think there's a few exceptions to the rule. I think as a broad category, I think first person shooter has the automatically shifts the mindset to like Call of Duty or Halo. But I think there are a few games that kind of fit both first person shooter as well as RPG, like Cody was saying, kind of like with Cyberpunk, Borderlands, and things like that.
Yeah, like in my mind, an RPG is, I mean, obviously it's a role playing game, but in my mind, it's you have to find weapons, and it's not like, you know, you either have just one weapon, but you have to find better weapons, and you have to upgrade your skills and armor and abilities and stuff like that. Almost anything with a skill tree, I would say, is an RPG. In my mind, I'm sure that there are people that'll disagree with me, but that's just how I view it. So if it helps, then I don't know that it's even a genre, but games with skill trees are my favorite genre.
Gotcha. Okay. And what are you currently playing? What do you like to play on?
Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with owning an Xbox. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
You don't want to come to Jesus like Christian?
Look, I had a 360, and to be honest, the 360 was my first, I don't know what the right word here would be, but like modern gaming experience.
Current generation?
Yeah, like
at the time.
At the time, like I had a PS1, and then I got a 360 from a buddy at school before I got my PS2. And so I played games like Assassin's Creed on that before the the PS3 rather. I'm getting timelines mixed up.
Wibbly wobbly.
I played those games on the 360 before I ever played them on a PS3 because I couldn't get a PS3 when they released.
Why?
I didn't have a job.
Oh, well, yeah, that helps.
Because I didn't get my first job until I was 18, and I got it on my 18th birthday, and I bought a PS3 with my first paycheck. But until that point, all I had was 360, so that was it. And that being said, I still prefer Sony, right? So my current platform of choice is definitely the PS5 because I was able to get one, and of course, secure Christian with his.
Thanks, man.
Through the.
You wanna tell that story real quick because you both are brought it up now.
Well, so I know. Were you in the chat, Christian, when we were ordering them through like Target and stuff?
No, I was at the dang park with my wife when everything went live. I was so excited and looking forward to ordering it right after Sony's press conference. And they're like, going live tomorrow. And then literally after I get into the middle of nowhere, I get a text from you guys in the chat group. They're like, hey, we all just ordered one from Target.com. And then that's when everything went downhill.
Well, yeah, because Sony was like, hey, guys, it's going live tomorrow. Be ready. And then Walmart said, nah, we're going to do it right now. And then just did it and screwed everything up and botched everything. But yeah, so I was able to pre-order one on Target, just like Tim and our buddy Steven. And didn't really have an issue there, but you couldn't get one. And so I know that between the 2 or 3 of us, we were on Target and Walmart and Best Buy for like 2 days straight trying to get you one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sony tweeted,
dude, I don't mean to interrupt, but I went to like the most obscure websites trying to find one for you, man. There were some questionable sites I was looking at.
It was like, oh, I guess I'll check Costco. I don't. Maybe Harris Teeter has one. I don't know. But then Sony announced that they were going to send those super secret exclusive invites that everyone signed up for in the beginning of the year. And for whatever reason, I got one, but nobody else I know did. Literally no one.
It wasn't like a lottery?
Yeah, it was literally just a lottery based on either purchases with Sony through like the PlayStation Network account or whatever, and that was how you got entered or what. I don't know. It was a really stupid way of doing it, but they did it. That's fine. And I got the email and I was like, well, okay. So I went through and I called Christian and I got all his information and I pre-ordered one. And so we had one for him pre-ordered. And then I just saw people online like, this is BS. Like I can't believe people are getting these emails and I can't get one. I was like, dang, that's crazy. And so this is like 8 hours later in the day. And I was like, I wonder if it's still up. So I opened the email and clicked on the link and it took me right back in and let me put another one in my cart. I was like, well, I'm going to do this through Sony. And then, yeah, it worked out fine. Like, I know I know they said like, you know, one per person or whatever. So I feel like I found a loophole. I don't know, but it worked.
Hey, it all worked out in the end, and Christian's able to play. It was very fortunate that the three of us on this podcast and then our buddy Steven all got one at launch. But yeah, that was just a little side note because you guys had brought it up. I just wanted to know if you wanted to tell the story. But go on, Cody, with like what you enjoy playing. So you obviously have the PS5.
Yeah, I mean, I have. Well, I used to call it a high-end gaming PC. Now it's I don't know, like a mid-grade gaming PC. Because as soon as the new consoles dropped, they also dropped new graphics cards.
Yeah.
And immediately everything became obsolete that I have on my computer right now. So I mean, I like gaming on the PC. It's fine because I mean, there's games like Christian was saying that just don't come out on console. And you know, like I want to play them, or they only come out for PC and Xbox, and I don't have an Xbox. Like as much crap as I give Xbox, I love the Gears of War series, and I would like to play them, so I have to play them on PC. But overall, I think console is the, my personal opinion is that console is the better way to game. But I also feel
it was nice talking to you, Cody. No, I was kidding.
I also feel that any form of gaming is gaming, and anyone that tells you that like PC is superior or console superior is just trying to start an argument. And just game, just be a gamer and enjoy your games, and that's it. It doesn't matter what you're playing it on.
Very well spoken. Very well spoken. All right.
So what about you?
All right. So let's see. Some of my earliest gaming memories. Well, when I was a little kid, I'm the oldest person here, unfortunately.
By like 2
so.
years.
Hey, 2 years in gaming term could mean a lot. So I was a little bit before because it looks like you guys all started with handhelds. I actually didn't start with a handheld. The first system I ever remember playing was an NES, the original one with the old school controller where you had the cartridges. I don't know how we all knew we had to blow in it to make it work, but we all did it.
Yeah, that's still a thing. I don't know why, but it's still a thing.
To this day, I have no idea how we knew that would work, but it did. And I remember at one point when the system started getting old, like we had to put it was probably really dangerous thinking about it. We had to put like a knife in there to kind of like keep the cartridge down.
You had to wedge it in with the butter knife?
Yeah, no, it was legitimately a butter knife, and we had to kind of wedge it in there to keep the cartridge down from keep popping up.
Was this while it was plugged in?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No,
all right.
You risked electrocution with older video games.
Well, let's just go ahead and go to the fact like you couldn't really leave it plugged in all that long because it got really hot.
Yeah.
And there were like cases of like these things catching fire, I think. Like it was a wild time to be into gaming. But I had NES, but I was a little kid, so I didn't really quite understand how to play the game. So we call him my uncle. I don't really know what his exact relation is to me because he's like my grandmother's brother. It's like my grand uncle. I don't know. He kind of, I don't know. Honestly, to this day, I don't even know whose system it was. I don't know who owned it, who bought it. I just remember it was just there. So my uncle, who's my granduncle or whatever, we'll just call him my uncle because that's what everyone referred to him as, would just play it. Like I remember I used to play Super Mario Brothers 3, so the original one, like the good one. But we also had Super Mario Brothers 1. I never really played 2 all that much. But we did have that, and I played things like Excite Bike, and there was this. It was really funny. It was a McDonald's game called MC Kids, or Mick Kids. I don't really know. I called it MC Kids, but I'm pretty sure it was Mick Kids. But you had to like run around and like collect these golden arches M's, and you had to battle like the Hamburglar, and like and like Grimace was there. It was a really wild game, but I just remember loving that game so much. And then my friend next door had a Super NES, and that's how I got into like Mario World and things of that nature. I don't recall if I ever had an NES. From there, my memory kind of gets a little bit hazy. I don't know if it's just because I'm older now and I don't remember as clearly. But the next system I remember having was the PlayStation, and that's what kind of hooked me into the Sony life. And from there, I had a PlayStation 1 and then the 2. And then you were with me, Cody, when I bought my PlayStation 3.
Yep.
And then we both went to the launch of the PlayStation 4 together, I believe, as well. I don't know if you were there or not, Christian. I don't know if you were there.
I don't think we even knew each other during the launch of the PS3.
No, the 4, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was working at, the old game shop location that was in the mall where everyone would pick up their, PlayStation.
So were you there when we got it then? Because I'm pretty sure me and Cody went there.
Yeah, I worked the launch of PlayStation 4 at the old game shop. And it was...
Were we actively hanging out at that time? Is what I can't remember.
No, we actually all met via me being just with one of those guys that worked at the game shop.
Well,
was that when Kelly was there?
Yeah, Kelly Bean was there.
Okay.
Well, so I want to say you're definitely right because it was. I want to say we definitely had the PS4s before we all started hanging out. But I remember when we started hanging out was when I realized you were the brother of one of my good friends from high school.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So it's pretty funny that you were there and we didn't even know you really. Yeah. Cody might have. I don't remember when because you also worked at Ye Old Game Shop. That
was definitely after we had started hanging out.
Okay.
The really shady way that we got hired at Ye Old Game Shop.
We don't need to get into that right now. Anyway, so I went to the launch of the PS4, and then honestly, I don't know how you feel about launch systems. After the PS4 launch, I was kind of like, I don't know, melancholy, I guess would be a good word. I wasn't really impressed with the way the PS4 launched. So when it came to the PS5, I know like Christian was in like this huge like race to get one. I sort of like nonchalantly was just like, if I get it, I get it. You know what I mean? And then had no issues going to Target and just buying one. So I was like, I guess I'm getting one.
Yeah, I feel like the PlayStation 4 just as a game lineup had far less games, even just AAA games in general to play than the PlayStation 5 launch did. So I can totally understand that. I mean, in the months following the launch of the PlayStation 4, I can remember these random obscure games that we never even heard of getting shipped to the store and being like, what even is this game? Like, where's the the regular AAA title launch fall season that we usually have? So yeah, it wasn't until I think the year following PlayStation 4's launch that it really like locked in and actually had a bunch of exclusives. The regular AAAs like Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, and all of that, that actually started rolling out and make the console worth it. Whereas on the PlayStation 5, they kind of had that thing rolling out from the very beginning with a bunch of great games. So
yeah, I just remember like getting the PlayStation 4, and I never played Infamous, so I was like, I don't really care about Infamous Second Son. And I think the other game that came with it was like Killzone or something like that. I was like, I never played any Killzone. So like the 2 games that were released with the PlayStation 4 were series I never played. So I just remember sitting there being like, this is great, but I sold my PlayStation 3 and all my games to get this, so now I have nothing.
I not to interrupt, but I loved the Infamous series and the Kill Switch games.
There's nothing wrong with them. I never played them.
They were fantastic games. To this day, I think they hold up, personally.
Okay.
But Second Son was the first game I ever platinumed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that makes sense, because was there a trophy system in PlayStation 3? I'm getting way off topic.
No, you're fine. Yeah, there was a trophy system in 3, and I think the only game I ever came close to was Brotherhood, but I didn't platinum Brotherhood until it was ported to the 4.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. So some of my favorites. Some of my favorite games would be I love God of War, the whole series. Maybe not Ascension so much, but
Yeah.
God of War is definitely what kind of almost made me fall in love with gaming again, because I did take a period of time where I wasn't really gaming so much. But God of War, I remember I used to get Game Informer magazine, and there was a demo for God of War in one of them, and it was just the first level where you fight the Hydra.
Oh God, do you remember demo discs?
Yeah,
sorry,
I do.
Whoa.
I'm telling a story about one.
There's a flashback.
I'm showing my age here.
Freaking demo disc, dude, from like PS2 and stuff.
Yeah. No,
man.
it was a PS2 demo disc. Yeah, and it was in Game Informer. And it was just the first level of God of War where you just go and you fight the Hydra. And I played that level so many times. And let me tell you, it was hugely controversial, because the game, I don't know if you know anything about God of War, if you're listening to this, but the game of God of War is very much an M-rated game.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, I was maybe 16. So my mom was not happy that I would play this. I remember when my dad bought me the game because my mom was just not having it. And I could only play it when I was at home after school before my mom got home from work. But I loved that game. So God of War is obviously a series that I really love. I'm also really big into Final Fantasy. You say 7's your favorite. I do love 7, but 8 has a special place in my heart, so to speak, because 8 was the first Final Fantasy game I ever played.
It was the same with me in 7. 7 was the first one I ever played.
Oh, really? Yeah. So 8 was the first one I ever played. So I love Squall and that whole storyline with, the time compression and Renoa and all of them. That game is a classic to me. I've bought it, I think, on every Sony system I own, because why not? I freaked out because they're doing the remaster, and I freaked out because I thought they were giving the same treatment that they were giving 7, and I literally lost my mind for like 30 seconds until I realized that it was just a remaster.
Yeah.
And then, so I dig things like RPGs, and platformers. So like some of my favorite games would obviously be, like Final Fantasy. I'm really big into Final Fantasy 14. I played it for God knows how many hours. I don't want to look up because it equates to days. I'm pretty sure it's over a month in time spent playing in game.
If I have over 2,000 hours,
don't tell me, man.
Just saying. Even Christian's hours are up there.
Yeah.
By comparison, it's minuscule.
No, in comparison, it's very embarrassing, and
yeah, I got there was like a good solid 2 to 3 years. That's all I played. And if I wasn't playing that, if I was playing something else, it was a major title that would only pull me away for a little bit, and then I would be right back into it.
Yep.
But that's when we were having a guild and doing all that kind of stuff and messing around. So yeah, I like RPGs and platformers. I didn't mention it, but I also am a big fan of Crash Bandicoot. That was the first game I ever owned on the PlayStation 1 when I got it. So kind of like a special place in my heart, kind of with Final Fantasy 8.
Same,
Um,
actually.
so, and things I play, obviously, I've been talking about this whole entire time. So I have a PS5. I'm one of the fortunate ones. Sorry to those people out there that are still struggling to get one. I feel for you, and I hope that you're able to get one soon. But I also have an Xbox One. I think I'm the only one here that has an Xbox One. Maybe Christian, don't you?
Nope.
Oh, did you sell it?
Yep.
I thought you got.
Okay.
Didn't you get one specifically for?
Yep. We're just gonna glance over this. You keep going with your conversation.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have an Xbox One. My roommate is an avid Xbox player, and I kind of sort of got it to just play games with him. Also, because like you were saying, Cody, there are certain games that I want to play, like Gears of War and Halo, and I'm really into Fable. I like Fable.
Oh, dude,
so
I missed the Fable series.
yeah, so I wanted to play all those games. So like it was kind of like my roommate was like the final straw. Like he was like, oh no, you're twisting my arm to really get me to buy this. But yeah, so I have that, and then I have the Switch. Nobody even mentioned the Switch.
I forgot to say, like when you said that you had Final Fantasy 8 on every Sony system. I had 7 on every Sony system. I also have it on the Switch and my PC.
How many times have you bought a
Skyrim?
Yeah, Skyrim.
At least 3.
Okay.
PS3, PS4, and PC.
Remember when we bought it originally? We had that big, thick, like strategy guide.
Oh yeah.
It was like $30. I still have mine. I don't even have the game anymore, but I still have the strategy guide.
I don't think I have any strat guides left. I might have The Witcher buried somewhere.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's kind of, I guess, our brief gaming history here, even though it was not so brief, I suppose. All right, Cody. So you're the residential expert here in terms of Cyberpunk. I played a couple hours of it, but I kept having a problem where it crashed the same part. So I gave up. Christian?
Yeah, so I created my character, got into the initial cutscene, the like backstory for the character, and then my game crashed about 15 minutes in, and I was like, well, you know what? I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla anyway. I guess I'll go back, finish that, and pick it back up when it's patched. And I haven't gotten around to it yet. So yeah, Cody's really the only one of us that's actually gotten the full experience of the game.
Yeah, I had pretty much something similar happen to me, except I went and played Immortals: Rise of Phoenix, which I platinumed yesterday.
Hey, congrats.
We can get into that another day. But Cody, I think you're the only one here that's actually played the game, and I'm pretty sure you've played it multiple times now. How many hours do you think you've logged on it?
I was trying
okay.
I was trying to do the
judge you.
You are going to judge me. I was trying to do the math in my head. It's something like 90 hours.
Jesus.
But that's because I have 4 files on the game. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll get to that later. But yeah,
Okay.
I would say it's probably close to 90 hours.
Okay. How would you rate the game? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Before I played the game, before I even bought it, I looked at the IGN review, and they gave it a 9 out of 10, and that was before it even came out to the quote-unquote disastrous opening or launch it may have had, depending on how you feel about it. So how would you honestly rate the game?
Regardless of what you think, it had a disastrous opening. Like, there's no questioning that. When a major company like Sony pulls your game off the store, it was disastrous.
Yeah, that was very unexpected. I think it's the first time they ever did that, right?
Yeah, that's literally the first time they've ever done something like that. Outside of like maybe like when they took PT off of the store, but that was for a different reason. That was different reasons. So where the game stands now, they're 2 major patches in. The game is still not on the store. I would give it a 7 out of 10 for my personal rating.
Okay. Do you feel like you got your money's worth out of it? Because it was an expensive game. Because wasn't it? It was 70, yeah. It was one of the first ones that bumped up to 70.
No, it was 60 because it's a PS4 title.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they haven't released the PS5 next gen version.
Well, maybe they should fix the first version first.
Right.
And just as a disclaimer, even though it was a PS4 game, you were playing this on your PS5, though, right?
Yes. Because it wasn't playable on a PS4 unless you had a PS4 Pro. From what I understand, I haven't done testing because I gave my sister my PS4 Pro when I got my 5, but supposedly it runs about the same, maybe a little worse on the Pro, but about the same as it does on the 5 on the Pro, just by how it's optimized. It is a good game. It has a lot of flaws. Like you, when I put it in the first time, I want to say before they introduced the first patch, like that first 17 gig patch, it was crashing 5 times an hour on me.
Ugh.
And
you stuck with this.
It was rough.
Crashing on you.
Now look,
you stuck with this.
Dedication.
Okay, yeah. Well, the only reason I stuck with it is because people seem to have forgotten that when CD Projekt Red released The Witcher 3, it was not as bad, but it was really rough. It was really
Was it?
rough.
I never played. I never played
For
The Witcher 3.
the first month of The Witcher 3, you would be riding your horse, and then all of a sudden his legs would just stop moving, and he would just be stiff-legged. You'd be in a T pose, and you'd just be floating across the map.
So let me pose a question to you real quick. Not to kind of get off subject, but it's kind of on topic. Do you think this is an issue with Cyberpunk or maybe CD Projekt Red?
I mean, that's literally a whole episode.
I mean, we don't. You can just give a brief description. We can talk about more later.
I don't think so. It's definitely a CD Projekt Red issue, but I don't think it's a developer issue. I think it's a management issue. Because from what I understand, just from what it looked like, right outside looking in, they made one game, and then it was taking too long, and so management was like, "Speed this up." And so
you're talking about Cyberpunk right now?
Yeah, Cyberpunk.
Okay.
And so management said, "Speed it up," and so they made a second game, and then it was still taking too long, and so management forced them to speed it up again, and so that second game turned into a third game, which is what we have today, and is the Cyberpunk 2077 in its current state. Because there is footage of Cyberpunk 2077 where you're able to not only have like the arm blades like early on in the game, but you could use them to like climb walls and then disable weapons on enemies and then stealth kill them and then take out another guy, right? You can't do that in the game.
Okay.
You can't stick your blades in walls and climb them up, and then like you can't hack weapons. You can't turn their weapons off and jam them. You can make their cyberware, like their implants and stuff, go haywire and short circuit or overheat. But you can't disable weapons, stuff like that. Like they definitely told us we would be able to. They also made it seem like the life path that you poise with choosing when you're picking your character, right? It was Street Kid, what was it, Corpo, and then like Outlander or whatever. They made it seem like that was gonna be like a really big part of the game. Like, depending on what you choose, is like you're gonna get a different game than what, say, somebody who picked a different path would. Really, the only difference is that first prologue. That first, like, I don't know, hour of gameplay is the only difference in the game.
So essentially, none of your decisions really make it much of a difference.
They don't make a difference until the end of the game.
Okay.
In terms of decision making,
don't obviously give away the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna avoid as many spoilers as I can while still talking about the end. without actually discussing the end.
Okay.
I've given this some thought without ruining the game. Um, but yeah, when you start the game and you pick it, and so that's the reason I did the multiple playthroughs. So I have 2 female playthroughs and 2 male playthroughs. And each playthrough I picked a different life path, whereas one of them I did 2 times just to see if there was a difference in certain things. But basically, if you pick corpo, you're in a corporate office, and then you get you get fired basically, and then you meet up with your old pal Jackie, who then is like, like, come do the street life with me, and we'll be in mercs together. And then you get literally the same cutscene, like little time lapse of events between you and Jackie on each playthrough, no matter what you choose. It's just like either you knew Jackie already, or you were hired by Jackie, or you run into him by accident on a job. And then you just become best friends, and you get that montage, and then the game is the exact same no matter what you did going forward.
So, given all that and all the disastrous opening and the bugs it had, what made you invest 90 hours into it and have 4 different save files?
I really enjoyed the game. I mean, it's a gorgeous game. It's definitely got its bugs, but I guess having gone to school for animation and stuff, I guess I have a higher tolerance for certain bugs and stuff. Like I get it, like when stuff clips weird, or you'll be driving down the street, and then because you're going too fast, the game hasn't caught up to it, and so you'll run into pedestrians that are just standing in T-pose, and then they'll snap into what they're supposed to be. Or if there's too much happening on the screen, then all of a sudden your character is standing on your motorcycle in T-pose for no reason. Or the most common bug that I ran into was if I had a hat on, if I put a hat on my character, and then I looked into any mirror or in one of the 3 cutscenes in the game when you can actually see your character in third person, I would be completely bald.
Yeah, that happened to me when I played, and I never got my hair back. I was just bald.
Yeah. The only fixes I found to that was basically quick saving and reloading the save, and it seemed to catch itself. But I mean, I was doing that a lot.
Gotcha. So here's my question. And I thought you platinumed it. That's why you had so many different save files. What are you missing from the plat? Without giving away spoilers.
I'm like 50% through the trophy list. The only reason I did multiple playthroughs is because there are certain characters that you can't have, I don't know, a relationship with unless you're a certain gender. Even though they made this big stink about how gender wasn't going to matter in the game, and when it came to making your character, it wasn't pick a male or female and all that stuff. Well, if you don't pick male or female, then you don't get certain options. And if you pick male or if you pick female, you are given options that the other sex can't do. Just in terms of romance options in the game. And so I was like, well, I want to experience the game in its full entirety. I want to, I want to get all the trophies possible, and I just want to play around with the different, I don't know, aspects of the game just to see what was in there. And there are parts of that game where it feels like there was something there, and then they ripped it out at the last second. Kind of like Destiny, the first Destiny, when we all got that, and it was amazing, but it felt hollow.
Yeah.
Because it was.
I remember we beat Destiny in 10 hours.
Yeah. And honestly, the story, if you just play the storyline, with no side quests, right? You just do main story as it pops up on your quest list. It'll take you maybe 15 hours, 15, 20 hours tops to beat the story of Cyberpunk. And I feel like they had it planned so that it was going to take like 50 hours.
See, I thought like it was supposed to be like 100 some odd hours. I don't know if you heard anything about this, Christian, or like what your thoughts are on it. I know it's just me and Cody back and forth. So
No, you're good. Yeah. So the weeks leading up to launch, I definitely think it was kind of highly speculated that the game was going to be a 100+ hour game. One of the developers even did a press release on behalf of CD Projekt Red, stating that he was sitting at 150+ hours, still hadn't finished the game. I think the only difference on it, of course, there's different ways and different play styles. I think he was going full stealth, taking his time, going through the game, playing as many side missions as possible. But even still, to disclaim that saying that his playthrough is 150-hour plus, and still not done with the game, kind of leads to speculation that, like, hey, like, I mean, even if I don't do everything, it's probably going to be like 100 hours till I beat this thing. And it just wasn't.
No.
It was around 20 to 30 hours from what I've heard and what Cody said as his experiences have been.
Yeah. On each of my playthroughs, I think I have about 25 hours logged because I did like the same side quest. I think one of them is like 27 hours just because I did a quest line, a side quest line to its completion because you can get a different ending if you do certain things. But I think that they worded that press release and that interview in a very specific way, because I think if you do all the side quests and you play stealthy and very conservatively, you can easily get 150 hours out of it.
Gotcha. Now, have you not done any of the side quests other than the one that gives you a different ending?
So I did. So there's a character in the game called Pan Am, and you run into her in the story. Like the story forces you to do a mission with her. It's part of the story. Yeah. After that mission, she calls you and then she offers you another side quest. Now you can straight up ignore her and just keep going, or you can continue with her side quest. And if you're a male, she's the romance option, right? And so through that side quest, you'll get a good sniper rifle. I think you can get a car or two. But ultimately, it gives you an option when you hit the final point of the game, where it's gonna, again, this isn't major spoilers. You're presented with one of X amount of choices, and it's based on what you did in the game. So if you did the Pan Am quest line, then there's an option to do the final mission with her, right? I feel like they're really misleading about it, but you find out almost immediately the game is basically about Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves' character, and he's just in your head at all times. And as the game is played, you have a red pill and a blue pill, very Matrixy, and one pill makes Johnny go away, and the other gives him control of the body, kind of thing. It literally comes up in like one mission, unless you do some side quests, right?
Gotcha.
Because there is a Johnny quest line literally at the end of the game that you can miss if you don't do it. So one ending, you do the final thing with Pan Am. One ending is you do the ending with a corpo person that offers you like just a path into what you need to be doing via corporation. And then there's the option of, if you did the Johnny quest line, where you can give him control and he goes with his friends and does the final mission. Right? And then there's a fourth secret option, which is why I have 4 files. Because there's a side quest at the very end of the game. It's called Chippin' In. And at the end of that mission, you go to a location with Johnny and you have a conversation. And if you don't pick very specific dialogue options, then you cannot get the secret ending.
Gotcha.
And so in the 3 other files I had, I didn't know that. So I can't get that ending. So that's why I did the 4th.
Awesome. Well, hey, you really put your time and investment into that. Christian, did you have any questions for our resident Cyberpunk expert?
No, I think you did a good job kind of covering the basis of everything. Do you think the plot, despite how surprisingly short it is, held up to what the expectations were for the game?
No. Honestly, they made it seem like it was going to be this really epic, story with Johnny Silverhand kind of being there and whatnot. And I mean, like, it was a good story. But in my personal opinion, it was too short, and it didn't feel as epic as they sort of advertised it to be. But I mean, that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, you could play it once it's fully patched and get a completely different opinion on that. But personally, I don't think it lived up to the hype. Like, it was good. It wasn't that good.
You think overall it could, like, maybe like some of the other games that like had failed launches, like I'm trying to get a couple in my head, like maybe like No Man's Sky, where they finally might actually be on track to having the game that they should have released 4 years ago?
From what I understand, going forwards, they've done 2 major patches to the game since launch and since it's been taken off the PlayStation Store, which have dramatically improved the game. I like where it was crashing 5 times an hour, I get a crash maybe once in an 8-hour playthrough, which still isn't good, but it's better. Okay. But from what I understand, they said that soon, actually, they're going to be releasing free DLC. But what it sounds like to me is they're releasing content that was supposed to be in the game that got cut out. And they're going to slowly put it back in via free DLC and try to build back the game that they originally planned to, as well as make it playable on the previous gen.
Excellent. So let's put a nice little bow on this. What are your final thoughts on the game?
My final thoughts are, if you still have it and you didn't get a refund and you're not sure if you should play it, I think you should play it. Just don't have... not that anyone does have high expectations anymore, but don't have, massive high expectations for it. Just enjoy it for what it is.
Okay. Christian, do you have any closing remarks?
No, I think you guys did kind of a good job about touching the different aspects of the game, gameplay, plot, character development, all that. Yeah, no, I think we're good.
All right. Well, I think that is about it for us in this first episode. We'll take a moment and thank anyone that could be potentially listening to this. Whoever you are, know that we love you so very, very much for taking the time out to listen to 3 dudes talk about video games and other things that are going to hopefully entertain you by having us talk about it and make jokes about it in a constructive way, obviously. So with that being said, thank you for listening. This was part 1 of our introductory podcast. Next week, make sure you tune in for part 2, where we're going to talk about movies and television shows. And just again, thank you for listening. Please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at SKO Entertainers, or visit our website, www.skoentertainment.net, for more information on how to contact us. Also, please check out our Twitch channel, Some Kind of Entertainment, where we play games occasionally. And finally, please, guys, join us next week, because even on the best of days, we all need some kind of entertainment.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.